Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Playing It by Ear. I am your host, Rodrick Fox, and I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I want you to share it, like it, comment, because we have another amazing, I say that every time, we have an amazing guest on the show today. He is from the area. I think his name speaks for itself. He is season 18's winner of The Voice, Mr. Todd Tilghman.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you letting me come do this with you.
I'm so
Really
glad you
appreciate it.
agreed to do it. We're trying to work out the kinks and scheduling everything.
Yeah, it
but
kind of
it's
got a
fine.
little behind, but
Yeah,
we got
but
it,
it worked
man.
out. It
we
worked
got
out. So how's everything going for you first?
It's good, man. You know, it's busy and a
Busy.
lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, but good. I don't have any complaints.
Wow. Now, I usually start off the show by asking a simple question. I want to, break the ice.
Sure.
For anybody who doesn't know you, which, again, I think will be very few people, but who would you say Todd Tilghman is? Somebody, how would you describe yourself to somebody? Who is Todd?
That's a tough thing, man. I would say, first of all, I love the Lord, man.
Okay.
I'm a husband to my wife, Brooke, and a daddy to all of our kids. And
Right.
then after that, I guess if you put it really loosely, a very liberal definition, I guess I'm an artist. I like writing and singing and stuff, but it's almost like even in that regard, I don't know that I sit, like if I were to be on the outside of myself looking at me, I don't know that artist would be the word I use. I just like to sing and write songs and tell stories, and love to do it, yeah.
That, it is hard to be defined.
Yeah, and Mississippi, man, I'm Mississippi. I don't live in Mississippi right now, but I'm Mississippi through and through. Yeah.
Yes. It's so much. I'm going to try to scale it down a little bit, but it's so much I want to ask because I've known you for a while. I mean, I know you didn't know me, but you used to be one of my customers where I worked. And,
I remember. You looked really familiar, and then when you brought that up, it rang the bell immediately.
And I could say this honestly, you were always gracious, always nice.
Oh, man, I
always,
appreciate it.
just, and that I think we kind of get lost in that in today, just being kind. Just being, understanding to each other. So.
Oh, man, I tell my kids all the time because in with my background in ministry and faith and all, and the way the world is now, and everybody's got a viewpoint and opinion. I tell my kids all the time, I've kind of reached a place where all I know is Christ crucified and do the next right thing and love and be kind to the person right in front of you at the time, and those are the rules,
That's important, and that's the way. I hate using get back to. I think we gotta kind of find our way back to the basics.
There are some things that are timeless like that. I understand progression and I get that, but some things are just timeless, and kindness is one of those things. I think.
Kindness is one.
Yeah.
What I would like to do here is kind of go through a past, present, future type thing. So, where did it start? You sing, you've been in ministry. How did it start?
Oh man, music started when I was a little kid. I think I was 8. That's kind of the going story. I'm pretty sure I was 8 years old, and I don't really remember exactly, but I'm almost positive I was 8 years old, and I sang. I sang at our church one day, just a little kind of a kiddie church song, and after that, I just kept. It's weird. I just kept singing, and my dad went into ministry. Oh man, I would have been 9, I guess, or 10. It was 1987, so I would have been 9 years old. And he went into ministry and then pastoral ministry, and so I was sort of just always in it and always around it. And I love singing, and I love doing. As a matter of fact, a lot, except for the singing part, a lot of the things in ministry that I did, I always sort of said I would never do that. It didn't feel like me, but God sort of
just kind of
He's
grooming you,
carrying
you for that place.
Yeah.
So, kind of like most of our story, I'm a church, just grew up in church.
Yeah.
I've been asking this lately to my guests in school. Were you involved in choir, band?
No, I was involved in band when I was in middle school, which at that time we lived in Kosciuszko, Mississippi.
Okay.
We lived there for 3 years, and I played saxophone in the band. Yeah, I don't even know if I can play anymore. It's been so many years.
That's the question. Can you still play?
I might. I haven't tried. I might could. And our school, I went to Northeast High School, graduated from there.
Trojans, shout out.
I'm pointing like I know what direction it's in. I don't even know, man. But I'm pretty certain they didn't have a choir. As a matter of fact, one of the coolest stories I always tell, what's cool to me is I won in Who's Who. I won Most Talented, but it's because I draw and sketch. Nobody even knew I could sing.
Wow.
I think they finally heard me. I'm pretty sure the first time they heard me sing was I sang at graduation, our high
Really?
school graduation.
So
yeah.
let me ask you a question. You're a Trojan. What year?
96. I graduated in 96.
So I graduated in 2000.
Yeah.
Who was principal? Was it Coach Wright?
Coach Wright and Tack Moore were there
Moore?
when I was there.
See, Tim was our football coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
wild. So whereabouts did you live? I'm sorry, I know you're supposed to ask the questions.
My mom taught at the school.
Oh, yeah? What
Miss
she do?
Fox.
Yeah,
She was a counselor.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small world. Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
we're all connected, you guys.
We really are. 6 degrees of separation is
Right.
what they say.
So, you singing except for at school.
Yeah, I never did really sing at school.
What happens after school? Like, what's that?
Oh, man, I went to MCC for a little bit, but
Go Eagles.
yeah, I kind of, one of the things that helps me with my kids in their journey to whoever they're going to become is one day this was after all the school.
Right.
I kind of realized school is just not my thing. I'm just not a great student. I'm not good at, and so I went for 2 semesters and then I dropped out at MCC and then I did it from home,
Okay.
but I got licensed in ministry after that, and during all that I was 18 years old and I was a youth pastor. I mean, I had kids in the youth group like 6 months younger than me, you
Right.
know, and so after that I just sort of I got licensed in ministry and we got married super young. I was 20, she was 18.
Okay.
We got married in 1998,
Okay.
and so. Then I just I was always singing and I did youth and then I kind of moved into like more associate and then I kept leading worship the whole time and then in 2011 is when I became lead pastor of the church there. Yeah, same church since 92. So.
Wow. I'm sure I'm sure you have plenty of stories to tell about that.
Yeah.
But going back to the school thing, I think that's important, especially. I think this kind of speaks to your creative side. Like, there's not a definite path to success.
Right. Oh my gosh, no.
It's not.
No.
And sometimes we feel that way, or we think that way.
Yeah.
But there are so many. I'm hang on, online school.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I could never. I'm just not gonna be committed.
That's
to that.
automatic. I'm gonna fail. So,
Yeah.
but I like learning.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like.
I like being in it. Yeah, like kind of like what my daddy used to say. He had a PhD in OJT, which is on the job training. I like doing it. Yeah,
that's sometimes the best way. That's the only way to learn.
Yeah.
You could hear it until or read it or whatever, but when you actually put your hands to it.
Yeah.
So you get in full-time ministry. And I'm gonna tell this story. We mentioned it earlier when you were selected as pastor. I remember your dad coming in and saying it was just a unanimous vote.
Yeah, I thought that was remarkable as well.
I mean, you had some. They believed in you, so
And I'm really not like a typical pastor. I wasn't
I can
then,
imagine.
and I wasn't, and so it really surprised me. I mean, I felt confident when the time came that they would want me to be their pastor. I never dreamed it would be every single one of them, though.
So would you say the 8, 10, 12-year-old you saw that?
No. Oh man, I would say 25-year-old me didn't see it. When I was youth pastor and growing up in a pastor's house, I always swore, man. I would swear at the cross, I ain't never gonna be a pastor, and
And then you're
yeah.
like, well, here I am.
Here we are. Yeah, that's
Wow.
true. Yeah.
So how was that journey? How was that? I mean, different, I'm sure, but
It was interesting. There were parts of it that I really, really loved. You get to be a part of the most beautiful parts of people's lives.
Right.
You get to be there when their babies are born, and you get to officiate their weddings and those, and then not to mention baptizing them and things.
Yeah.
I
Just
got
celebration.
To be, all those things. Then there were parts of it that I just, and to this day I always say, and I appreciate all the people who disagree with me because I think it's sweet that they do.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I was the man for the job because it was so hard for me to deal with. The time I was pastoring, I would say, I'm ballparking, of course, 75% of the people that I buried were under 30 years old.
wow.
And it was just, and then, you would get into these situations with people, and what you want to do is you want to say, oh yeah, let's do this and
Right.
then, but you don't have that,
It's not that simple.
and then you want their lives to be whole.
Yeah.
And I don't know why my wife always gets mad at me for this, but I always feel like because they're here in my office talking to me about it, I feel like it's my job to make their life whole, and so that part of it was tough. And then just like an inch at a time, maybe. And this is a personal thing. Let me just say, this is, as a matter of fact, I think the number one thing in the kingdom of God that we turned into a weakness that's supposed to be a strength is diversity.
Right.
We're supposed to be
absolutely,
different,
absolutely. Yeah.
And so you do it however you do it, and that you seek Jesus however you do, and that's fine. But for me, I don't know the word I'm looking for, maybe formality. I kind of got lost in I was having a hard time comparing the way I was living my life as a pastor to Jesus.
Okay.
And so I know we're probably going to get to this later, but I wouldn't say I'm like Jesus, but I would say what I do now is actually kind of closer
Then.
Yeah, it's really grassroots kind of.
And I think speaking to that part of ministry is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've served as a musician for forever.
Yeah,
20 plus years.
Long time. Yeah.
And that's a hard thing. Like you said, you see, what am I doing? I ask that question all the time. I got a good friend, a minister. I asked, man, what are we doing? Like, that's not how it should be. Like,
Yeah.
we and it's. I would like you to speak to this. Like I said earlier, you've seen this on a much larger scale than I have, but like the driven results expectations. Maybe that's it. Expectation. What I want to say that we have now. I feel like 20 years ago we didn't have that, or maybe I was just too young to really understand it. Just naive. I think there's a blessing in being naive too.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
but
man. Yeah.
like
I'm an ignorance is bliss kind of guy.
But the expectation of ministry, like you said, even when there's nothing you can do about some people's situation, but you just have such a heart to it, and you feel like maybe I do have the answer, but maybe that ain't the answer for them. Maybe all that kind of stuff. Where do you see that now?
Once again, I feel like at the end of the day, and this is not up to me to decide. Now, of course, you'll see in people's lives, you'll see the fruit of it. If it's real, I mean, I guess you'll see the fruit of it. But it's not up to me to say. At the end of the day, I guess it's just what's happening in your heart, because growing up, man, I was always scared to death, that if I have a bad thought, I'm going to burn in hell or something, I ultimately have gotten to realize that whether you come together with 10 people and at church on Sunday or 20,000, what's happening in your heart is really what matters. And I'm not qualified to say what that is. I think one thing for me that has happened is I did not realize what God had in store until I sort of got outside of the bubble that I was in. That's the only world you see, and it's hard to think of people a different way or whatever until you get out of it.
I'm telling you, you are verbalizing like all of my thoughts because, and with good intentions, we grow up in a situation that we feel applies to everyone else. And you get older and you realize, I mean, that's not nothing wrong with what I have experienced.
Yeah.
That's not everyone's experience, and I can't hold them to that.
You meet these people and you're like, man, these people very clearly do know the Lord.
Right.
And in my mind, and even in my 20s, as a matter of fact, my 20s was probably the most judgmental period of my life. In my mind, I was like, oh, there's no way if they do this or they don't do this. Because, I grew up, and I don't want to get myself in trouble on your show, man, I grew up thinking, oh, man, if you don't go to church every Sunday, you know. But now I'm learning, man. Yeah, sometimes that doesn't work for people. There are people that are just not cut out. I believe in church and the community and all, but some people it just doesn't work for.
And I don't want to get you in trouble either, but I do want to ask this. Like, I saw a social media post the other day speaking to how can I word this? It was basically speaking to the messages that are preached in different time periods. So do you think, or do you believe, like some of that is just how we were raised?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like I think that's why leadership in any capacity, but specifically church, is so important. Because my brother-in-law, we talk about this all the time. I think a large portion of people do not study.
Right.
Yeah. They don't know all 66 books. They don't
Yeah.
know. They're fine living their life that way. They believe you as a pastor. You said that. Pastor Todd said that.
Yeah.
So it's got to be. So
Oh man, yeah. I used to say, and there's several people that live here in town that were in our church that can attest to it. I used to just most every Sunday, probably not every week, I would say, listen, I'm reading this scripture to you. I'm breaking it down the best way I know how, but I might be wrong.
Right.
I don't know. I
That's
may
humility,
have this
though,
wrong, so I don't want y'all like running out here and living your whole life based on just what I said, because you gotta know the word for yourself. You gotta know the Lord for yourself.
You do.
And being a dad has taught me that I
Oh my
love all
God.
my kids the same. Like there's none of my kids that are favorites,
Right.
But the way that I love them has to be different because they're very different children, and
I don't know about this. Your relationships with them are different.
yeah, and that's the same way with God, I think. Yeah.
Like my youngest son is, I just tell people all the time he had colic. When he was little.
Yeah, we had a couple of those.
So I spent like weeks with my youngest and the son older than him are Irish twins, basically.
Yeah, we got a couple of those.
so his mom basically had the older, and I had the baby. So he's just more attached to me. Like
Right.
we went to the zoo, and he's 10 now, but this was probably he was 8, and he holding my hand. We were with this class, and I was thinking like, okay, when he give his friends, he's gonna, run off. We walking through the zoo. He's holding my hand.
Yeah.
He just attached me. My other son, he would give him a phone, you probably won't see him.
Right. Yeah, that's right. 100%.
But that doesn't mean my love or any feelings towards either one of them is different. It's just a different relationship.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that as far as my faith goes, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. I believe in the scriptures and I believe in the Word of God, but I've sort of reached a place, like I was saying earlier, like Paul. All I know is Christ crucified,
right?
And that's all I know. And I love you, and I want you to know the Lord, and even if you never do, I'm going to love you just the same. It's almost a shame though. It's because
it's so simple.
He's good, he's really good.
That's such a simple message, but it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Look, we could stay here all day, especially talking about that. So I do want to talk about you go from pastoring, you transition out of that. What does that look like?
All right, so I always have to ballpark this because I was not like journaling it or anything. I would say maybe 2016, maybe early 2017. I was just in a weird spot, man. My wife, well, she could probably tell you all about it because she's the only one I would really confide in that like I just didn't know that me, like who I am as a person. I just didn't know that I could keep being the pastor of a church because, whether you agree with it or disagree with it or however you feel about it, people look at you in a certain way and there are expectations they put on you.
Absolutely.
And then, a lot of believers, and most of them don't even know any different. They mean well.
Right.
A lot of believers, it's almost like we want to say God's on the throne, but really church is, And so, and like I said earlier, I was struggling to compare my life with what I thought Jesus, because it was way more corporate, and I just wanted to be sort of grassroots. So I don't know, man. I started praying and digging, and I even told some of the leadership in the church because I had such a lengthy history there, and they were good to me when I told them. I wasn't like I'm not quitting or anything. I'm just telling you I got some stuff going on in my heart I don't really know, and I started searching, man. I remember I filled out FAFSA forms again.
Yeah.
Even though I know school is not,
Woo! Using the space.
I reached out on Facebook and I was like, how do you become a barber? Like,
really?
Like, do you go to a cosmetology school or is there a barber school? Which, by the way, there is. There's a barber school. And I didn't know that. Ultimately, after a bunch of things, I was really looking into. A friend of mine that I went to middle school with that lives in Kosciuszko. We wasn't going to move to Kosciuszko.
Yeah.
He just was going to kind of get me going to become a realtor. I was going to get into real estate. And it's hard. It's so hard to talk about sometimes because when you say things like that, then a lot of people that are like part of the church, it feels like an indictment against them, and it's not. It wasn't about them at all. It was all me. You know what was happening in me. So in all of that spanned over a couple of years. You know, in the middle of all of that, I was trying to teach myself piano. You know, we had that conversation earlier, and I was singing songs on Instagram, and one of my sister's friends messaged me with a link to an open call audition on The Voice. That would have been in the spring of 2019, March or April, not sure. So I filled it out, and the audition was in Atlanta, Georgia, but it wasn't until the end of summer.
Okay.
So I kind of, in the meantime, just changed my mind. You know, I wasn't going to do it. And then when it really was like right time to go I say right time, like 2 days before. I let my wife know. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna. You know, it's a waste of time and waste of money, which we really don't have now. Everybody thinks we do, but back then we really, really didn't have. You know, and she reminded me that we have the best we could. I'm sure we could have done better, but we have always tried to teach our kids to go for it. People are gonna side eye you. They're gonna say things about you. Just if it seems crazy and that's what you feel like you're supposed to do the crazy thing and see what happens. And my wife reminded me of that. So I went with the clothes on my back pretty much. I didn't expect to get through. I had to buy clothes when I got through to the callback audition because it was the next day. And so I had to go to TJ Maxx and buy some clothes.
Wow. That's amazing. And, you know, I mean, of course, you won.
It worked out. Yeah.
But, I'm sure we don't have time to go through, but that was an experience, I'm sure. Like, was that like some affirmation or just?
You know, I have said a million times to myself and to anybody that'll listen, this is gonna sound crazy, but being on The Voice and winning The Voice was equally the most validating and humbling thing I've ever done in my whole life so far, up to now.
Right.
You know, it was very validating, but it was also like, man, I can't. It's almost like I feel like I owe a debt to everybody who voted for me or something, you know, and especially here, home Mississippi and Meridian, man, everybody. Even now, it's just really great to me.
I mean, of course, like, and I would, man, did that. I guess I don't even know how I want to answer. Like, how did it? Of course, it changed your life.
Yeah.
But conversation was talking about, you know, if you win the lottery, say $300 million, whatever it is. I just feel like your life immediately changed. Like
yeah.
Is that?
It did, yeah. It's now. I will say I feel like I'm actually not qualified to do a lot of things, but I'm qualified to say this: there is no such thing as overnight success. But it did sort of immediately shift. Yeah. Because I mean, to me, there's really no plainer way for God to say this is the path, not real estate, than for you to just show up, man. Because all these people on the show, I mean, we're great. I'm great friends with tons of them. I still hang out and we do shows and stuff now and then. But a lot of those people, man, they already, you know, they were like touring artists and had management, and some of them had record deals before, you know. And I just showed up, you know, and so it did. It changed a lot. Yeah,
it's a message.
Yeah, I just showed up one day and sang, and so it changed. And now, you know, it's not. I want to be very realistic. It is not like the yellow brick road that people, when you watch TV. I mean, it's TV, you know.
It's not a fantasy.
Yeah, and now it's almost like what I do now is much more demanding, and the hours are wild, you know. But I do feel more like this is where I'm supposed to be, you know. And again, I always feel bad saying stuff like that because I feel like the people I pastor think, well, man, no, I feel like that was the season for that.
And it changed, and that's okay. Like you said earlier, which I was going to say it, I forgot it.
Yeah, it's all right.
How you talked about the diversity.
Yeah.
That is something that we have to, I think, as people kind of, like, it's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to be different. It's okay. How you felt at 20 is not probably how you feel today.
Oh no, man! I
Your understanding, yeah.
almost completely disagree with like 23-year-old me.
Right.
I almost don't agree about anything that he thought.
So,
you know?
Right. So that's growth.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us don't.
Yeah.
We kind of
Yeah.
top out once we get to where we think we, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, you can't. If you ever get to that place where you feel like I'm right and I got this figured out,
Yeah.
then you're in more trouble than anybody. Pretty much.
And that's so sad. Wow. So you win The Voice.
Yeah.
Which I kind of want to bring that to where we are now. So your life has changed, Well, I'm not, I'm sure you can say this. Your kids keep you humble.
Oh yeah, they certainly do.
They don't see none of that. They
Certainly
like,
do.
Dad, like, So where you kind of now, like? After?
Oh man, now I am. Man, since the show ended, the fanfare around winning the show dies down pretty quick, and that's understandable.
Right.
And so what you do is, especially now, I'm not trying to put myself in a special category, but really all you got to do is turn on your TV or get on your phone and look.
Right.
Especially when you're older.
Yes.
it is a lot of I have had more doors closed in my face in the last 4 years than in the 42 before that combined.
Wow.
But also a few have opened.
Right.
And so I sort of once we got through all the things that you do with the show,
Right.
and I realized I was on the phone today with my manager, and we were talking about some stuff that's coming up, and I can't remember how we were talking about some stuff in the past, but I didn't know what in the world I was doing. And that's why one of the reasons I will forever say the reason that I'm a man of faith and I'm a believer is I just have seen too much, man.
Absolutely.
God has clearly navigated, because I can point out some very bad decisions I didn't know I was making. I thought they were good decisions,
Right.
And so I've just gone to work. I tour, and I don't tour like in a bus. I don't, it's just me and usually a guitar player. We travel and sing. I write a lot, we had an opportunity to write a book and publish it a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So now what life is for me, and I don't know about all the other people out there who sing and things, what life is for me in as far as that part of it, the career part of it goes, it is a lot of me saying, oh, Lord, is this going to work? Because, these kids, they want to eat every day.
Every day.
And
several times.
Yeah, more than once a day. That's
Right.
what I always say, man. If you're asking, if you're a new mom or dad or you're pregnant and you want my advice, don't feed them that first time. They get addicted, man. They want to do it several times every day. But yeah, and so I will reach every now and then. Thank God I just had this conversation with my wife in the car today. I guess His grace is just enough for the moment, because for some reason there's peace that it doesn't make sense, but the Bible says that'll happen.
Right.
But there are times I'm just in full panic mode because I'm like, nothing's happening.
Right.
But then one day, I don't know that I'm allowed to talk about it yet. So in general terms, I'll say there's something that's coming up that I always have said I don't know why. I really don't.
Right.
I wish I did know why. But for some reason, if you'll let me get in the room, if you'll bring me to the meeting, like, because my manager will be like, oh, I'll handle this. Now I'm like, if you'll bring me in, it always works in my favor somehow.
Wow.
And so we've worked on some things for a long time that just weren't working out. But one of the guys that's sort of really influential in that area was in the studio with me one day when I was recording vocals on a single. And the next thing you know, we get a call from them. We've been working on it for forever. And so that's what life is now. Life is, and then there are the most important things. Life is still making time to sit in the recliner with my baby girl. She's 8, and she's going to crawl out of my lap one day and won't crawl back in, And sometimes, like now, this, because I was only here for a couple of days,
Right.
and we have a 20-year-old at home, my wife got to come with me, and it's making time to spend with her, and that's what life is.
You hear a word that I think gets misused a lot, especially in ministry, balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think you kind of...
You have to do it, yeah.
I think you kind of got a good working...
yeah, it's good. It's weird. It's almost like the like the pattern is very different.
Yeah.
But I feel like I spend more time with my family now than I did. Even though I'm on the road
a
sometimes
lot.
for like 5-6 days and a week or two, then I'll be home and I don't even. Sometimes I very deliberately don't schedule anything, so I don't leave the house for a week, and then we're just together.
And it's definitely, I'm sure, more meaningful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's so weird to talk about because I don't ever want to come across like I think pastoring's bad or church is bad. Or I don't think that. But I do think that whatever it is that God has called me to do, I feel like I am being more effective at that and at right now. That's just how I feel. And it feels when you're on the stage and you're singing and somebody's crying out there or laughing, it's very, very meaningful. Yeah.
And I will say this too, and I don't, I've known you, but I don't know you. We just met, but you seem like you have a very strong awareness.
Yeah.
And maybe just an openness to who you are and, all that kind of stuff.
I try to teach my kids self-awareness is a gift,
And like I said, we see that so often, the other side of that. And it's okay to embrace who you're becoming.
Yeah. I believe, man, I actually have to be really intentional and work on it. I believe in confidence, man. You need to have confidence, but also realize you can be at the very top.
Yeah, and be.
But the whole reason you're there is because, hopefully you don't have this mindset, but some people do. The whole reason you're there is because someone who you've decided is not important, bought your album or showed up to your show one day, and that's the only reason you even get to do it,
Yeah, you especially in creatives, and I'm going to say this and try to move on, I guess.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot, me and a group of friends of mine, like what's important as an artist? Is it the fame? Not the fame, but selling the records and being, all of us want to receive some type of revenue back from doing this.
Of course, yeah.
But is it that important, or just being truly who you feel you should be? I believe I've learned this, and I'm an artist, I guess.
Oh, you are?
Still trying to embrace that, but there's a group of people who's signed to what you're doing, and it's important to reach those people. And connect with them, and that could be that's more important to me than, of course, I want to be rich too. But I don't want to forsake that.
Yeah.
For that.
Oh man, my whole goal, and really, I really mean this. I've sat across a lot of tables in Nashville, Tennessee, and had this conversation. And sometimes I've had it just at an award show in the lobby, with people that work in the industry. And some of these people, technically, on paper, they're the people that can make things happen for you. But really, at the end of the day, I'm not crazy. I would stroll across the stage and take that Grammy if I want. I would love it. Yeah. And I would love to make $1 billion. I'm sure everybody would. Absolutely. But really, my whole goal with the music, really what I really want the music to do, really a couple of things. Number one, I want it to connect. Right. I want somebody to listen to it and be like, oh man, that's me, that. And then what happens is you're listening to a song, like two people can be listening to it and both of them are playing a movie in their mind, and they're different movies because they live different lives, Right. I want the music to connect. I also want, for what I don't know, I feel like I'm a little too old to be a trailblazer, but
no, you're not.
I sort of want to show, even if it's just a handful of people, that you can be authentic. Which to me means some of the songs are gospel, but some of them are country, and when I do live shows, man, a lot of it's like soul and just all kinds of stuff, and I hope that I can be just like a little part of whatever door opens for people who feel like they have to pick. Because that's been the hardest thing for me, because that's like rule number one is pick a lane, and I just have not been comfortable doing that, But then at the end of the day, as far as the money and stuff goes, I really, if I could, I just want to take care of my kids and my wife, and I don't want a mansion. I'm a simple kind of guy. My wife makes fun of me. I don't have stuff on my shirt or nothing. I'm just a regular. But if you want to know the power bill's paid and the kids are fed, and you know,
Yeah.
and it's cool to do cool things, but
Right.
I don't need to have a yacht and travel the world. I just want to, because you know, but a lot of people who listen to this may know, but a lot of people may not. There is, and when I say crushing, I don't mean it bad, because I love my wife and my kids. Oh my gosh, man. But the crushing weight of providing for a family,
is,
you know, it is so.
It is.
Oh my gosh, it's like daunting.
It can be consuming at times.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I don't know if that's how men are wired.
Yeah.
But you know, I had actually today had something happen unexpectedly, and it changed my mood. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I felt a little better.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can do this. You know, just so little things like that. You know.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Real.
It's tough, but you know, one thing that I can say, and again, you know, I don't ever. My thing about faith is, my viewpoint is you don't have to believe anything at all. I'm going to love you the same and
Right.
treat you
Absolutely.
the same,
Absolutely.
and I'm not trying to harp on it or run it down your throat or anything. But in my experience, it's just every time and we have a lot of times, and this is the part that people don't see and don't believe. But every time we get to these holy crap moments, like, what are we going to do if something doesn't?
Yeah.
Because we're getting really close to being in trouble. Man,
It comes through.
the booking agent will call or something, be like, hey, can you be here tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah. And it works out, man. It happened just recently. We were like, oh, man, it's kind of slow. We need to move some things around. And then people start calling, and I just feel like God works on your behalf if you let him.
You see, there's so many messages and things and what you're saying. I don't even know if you. There's a strong. I'm gonna say this pastoral. You know, just the way you speak. You know.
Oh, I appreciate it. I don't know. I see the whole world from the front porch, man, and my faith included.
I'm really being encouraged just saying this.
Well, thank you.
We're gonna. I probably kept you a little too long.
That's all right.
But I have we do a little game here.
All right.
And I don't have a name for it. We're gonna do a little something.
I'm not very athletic if it's that kind
Oh
of game.
no. Look, you're a Trojan. You
Yeah,
gotta be athletic.
You know, they wanted me to play football, and first of all, I'm not very athletic. But second of all, you know what made my decision is, y'all, I'm not gearing up in August at 4:00 in the afternoon out there. No way.
Hot.
You crazy? I never did play. Yeah.
It's hot. So I'm just gonna name some things, some phrases, words, and you just give me the kind of first thing pops in mind.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I think
right.
I'm ready. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, it's not. It's all good stuff. What's your favorite song to sing?
Oh man, that is actually very hard. It changes. Oh golly, I love singing. I love singing like "Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone" because everybody will sing along with you. It's not released, but there's a song we wrote and we sing all over the place called "I'm a Four But I'm Funny." I like singing that because everybody laughs and they're in. Yeah. Oh, that's hard, man. Yeah. I don't even know if I have a favorite to sing. I just love singing. You know, I like the ones that have got. You got to have some. It's got to have some. You got to be able to just wail on it a little bit.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Okay, so I got two. I'm gonna go with "Ain't No Sunshine."
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite song? Period.
Oh, I don't think I have a favorite song. It sort of changes around, man. Man, that's really hard. I love so much, and it's really all the way across the board. I would say one of my favorite songs is probably "I Can Still Make Cheyenne." I think is a great song because it's such a well-written song. But then on the other hand, on the way here, I played "Drift Away" on repeat just because I heard it came on and I was like, "Dang, I love that song," you know. And so I played it again. Man, now you ask tough questions.
I got
people like, "What's your favorite food?" I'm like, "Oh, all of it." Golly, I don't know.
Listen, I don't know if you're like I am because I go through spells.
Yeah.
Like someone get in the car and I'm playing techno. They be like, "What? You okay?" It's just kind of I have to hear something different.
Yeah, my wife will get in the car and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, are you still listening to John Hyatt?" I'm like, "I'm on a John Hyatt
Right.
kick
It's just in that vein.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite artist?
Oh man, y'all are killing me with this stuff. Man, that's really tough too because it kind of depends. Like there, so much of my life I would listen to like like Mahalia Jackson, and I just
Right.
love it because it just moves you. But then there's also a whole other part of my life that I love 90s country. I love like Colin Ray and Travis Tritt and all that. But then also grew up on like Bon Jovi and MC Hammer and listening to all that. Man, I don't think I have a. It's so weird. My wife always makes fun of me because she's like, you gotta be feeling something, and I'm like, I really don't feel. I'm fine, you know.
Just hit the shuffle button and whatever comes.
Yeah,
on.
it's now. The thing about shuffle is that's how I know when I don't want to listen to that song. When it pops up on shuffle, I'm like, oh no, not that one.
So you can't get. I've got a song maybe, but not an artist.
Yeah, it's so tough, man. Artists.
Maybe who influenced you the most? Maybe.
Oh, that, honestly, I don't know that any artist influenced me the most, but I always tell people, if you go back to when I was a teenager, what I would, at that time, now, you grow and you shift and you listen to different things. I think what I would emulate the most was like Black church.
Right.
With the services where there's no music and people just like,
Okay.
I would emulate that
Really?
the most through my teenage. And that's why a lot of times when I sing, there's runs and little things because I would listen to that and try to do that.
That's that diversity you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes us well-rounded.
Yeah.
And gives a appreciation for art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, that's probably what I would try to copy the most when I was in my formative years.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could collaborate with any artist, they could be alive or dead, who would that be?
I gotta say, and it's more because of the person and not even their art, even though their art is great. I'd say Dolly Parton, man.
Dolly Parton.
If I could collab with Dolly Parton or Ray Charles, if I could collaborate with Ray Charles, man. One of my favorite songs is Seven Spanish Angels because I love Willie Nelson and I love Ray Charles and they duet that song, you know?
Okay. Best advice you've ever been given?
Oh, man. Golly, I think being self-aware, just self-awareness is a gift. It's been some of the best advice I've been given. Don't doubt in the dark what God showed you in the light, and has always been some really, really good advice. But honestly, golly, man, there's tons of things people have told me through the years that have really made a huge, huge difference in me. I think probably some of the advice that has actually been practically applicable and very helpful to me in my actual physical practical life is to just, if you can tough out through the hard parts, it's better on the other side. Right. I'll say that about marriage. I always say, look, if they're abusing you or if they're cheating on you, that's a whole other thing. But like if you'll tough out that hard part, it really is better on the other side, man. It really is.
All right, most memorable moment. And it can be like music related.
Music related, my most memorable moment would probably be at the end of The Voice. And I don't know that this is music. It is because it was related to The Voice. But including winning the show, including Carson Daly saying Todd Tilghman. We were COVID, so I filmed everything here. We sang here.
Okay.
And so when that was over, we had because of COVID, we had a virtual press thing that would have normally been sort of in person. Right. And then some people had come in from the city, the mayor had come in and stuff, because I was filming at our church. Right. Because I told the show, they were kind of hardcore that you film at home, but I'm like, y'all, I have 8 kids in this house, and one of them is literally like textbook feral. He'll tear your stuff up. So they ended up letting me film at the church, because no one was there either, you know. And so some people had come in and we spoke, and so I had already decided, COVID or not, don't nobody get mad at me about that. But we were having a party, win or lose, we're having a party. So we had a party set up in the other building, and to this day, the most memorable moment would probably be when I stepped out of the building that I was singing in and that the finale had been filmed in to go to the other building and celebrate. The parking lot was full of people from Meridian cheering and clapping, and there was there's even winning didn't feel like that, and that probably is the most memorable thing to me.
I would assume, but I'm asking, what's your biggest accomplishment today?
I would say, I don't know that I accomplished it, but probably my kids, man. You know, our marriage it's a marriage.
Right.
Where there's times it's great and sometimes it's not, but we've, through the years, it's like love. It's almost like love transforms into this thing it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
And our love has done. We'll be 26 years, in November, and so
Congratulations.
and so I don't know that that's an accomplishment, because when you are somebody like me who looks like me and a beautiful woman marries you and stays there, I don't know, maybe that is an accomplishment, but probably that seeing my older kids, seeing them come into their own,
Right. The statement, or we hear God is love, means a lot more to me now. Like, it's love and God are typically two of the things that we have so many different definitions of. But it can, it's so undefined, but
It
it's
really
so
is.
real.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the scripture of this is what love is, but man, it's so. But one thing that helped me with that is in the scripture when Jesus told his disciples, because they were talking about seeing the Father, and Jesus said, "If you've seen me, you've seen God." And up until that kind of got in my heart, in my mind, God is like the great and terrible Oz, and Jesus loves me. But then one day when I read that, it just clicked. God loves me like Jesus. That's when I've seen him, I've seen God,
You just saying that made me look at that even differently. I've always thought of that. He say, if you see me, you've seen God physically.
Yeah.
You looking at. But it's not maybe the way.
Because
the way
Jesus,
I love you, the way I've
to
shown
me,
you,
I mean, I don't know, I may be wrong.
Yeah.
So don't,
Right.
But to me, it's just like, if I'm willing to take the brunt from all these people that want to stone this woman caught in adultery, so is God. This is Jesus, not me.
Right.
Or if Jesus is willing to touch someone who's leprous, then so is God. If you've seen me and you've seen what I would do, if I'll feed you when you're hungry, then you've seen, and that's the nature of God. And that was hard for me, because I always thought God's like, man, he's casting judgment down, so that really did open my eyes and my heart too,
Wow. Last one for this segment. What's your craziest story?
Oh,
Anything
my
crazy?
gosh, man.
They chase you out the building? They do anything like that?
I don't know if I should go into so much detail. And if you're listening to this, I love you. I ain't mad at you. But some of the old ladies are a little handsy sometimes. And, every now and then that happens. Now, during the time on the show, the craziest, several crazy things happened. But one of the craziest things that happened is before I even had a blind audition, we were rehearsing. And one of the guys said that, you have to get clearance for a song to be on television. And one of the guys said to me, Bob Seger had to listen to you auditioning, singing this song before he would say yes to you doing it on TV. And that
was.
I literally told the guy, before I knew what I was saying, I said, "You're lying." And those are stories. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell all those, because you're not supposed to tell show secrets, but also they don't tell you what's a secret.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think that's a secret.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. So what's next for you? We kind of hit past, present.
Oh man,
what's coming?
We are working right now on. We're kind of trying to decide. I'm literally in a very small window of time. I can't really give a lot of details, but we're trying to decide exactly how we're going to do it, as far as like an album or singles or what.
Right.
But I do have, I don't know the way to put it without saying something I'm not supposed to say just yet, but like I do, doors are opening. And,
open doors.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
And
stay tuned.
Yeah, and so we're working on a lot of stuff. I got a single that's already in the can that we were just getting ready to put out, but then some good news came our way, and so that's a little bit on hold right now. that's next. Writing, I love writing. That's always happening. But yeah, that just kind of keep your eyes open because it'll, those kinds of things take time.
They do, and they. I'm sure you can speak to this much better than I can, but in my experience, they never go like you exactly.
Oh, never. But man, God's like that. I always say,
right.
Most of the time for me, if I missed God, it's because I knew He was going to come from the right and He came from the left.
Exactly.
And I was just watching down this way.
I was telling somebody that last night. I got something that I feel supposed to have already happened.
Yeah.
And just frustrated about it. Mm-hmm. And then in the conversation, I was saying, well, I know when it happens, it'll be how God wanted it to be, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just frustrated right now.
Yeah, Oh, man, I feel that. Yeah, my wife listens to me just gripe about it. Because, man, you get to those points where you're like, it's literally like, as far as I know, now I tell the people that work with me all the time, sometimes it's not that I won't do it, I don't know what to do.
Right.
So you get to those places where, as far as I know, I've done everything I know to do. It's just like, we're just stalemate,
Okay. Last two questions.
All right.
Well, I think last two. We always talk. What's next? What advice would you give to someone who, maybe have watched you, admire you? They know a lot, all your history, and they want to kind of do that. But what advice would you give?
Oh, that's actually an easy one, but it's not just one piece of advice, if that's all right. The first thing would be, you got to find some people in your life, even if they don't know you personally. As a matter of fact, that might help. That'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
If you're not, because here's the thing, I realize I'm well aware that I suck at almost everything but singing. And you have to kind of have an awareness that this is for you or not for you. But really, number one, this is the only advice I really ever give, I think, and it's always the same. And number one and number two almost conflict. But number one, you have got to find a way to stay authentic. Be who you are. Don't let people take that away from you. Yeah. But then rule two is kind of makes it harder to keep rule one. You do kind of have to know how to play ball a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to play ball if you're going to be in the industry. You don't have to sell out.
Definitely.
You don't have to shake hands under the table or force it, but you do got to sometimes. Man, I've got songs streaming right now or on the radio and not all over it. I don't get a ton of radio play, but I get some that I just would not have done it that way.
Right.
But you have to kind of come from the meet in the middle,
I always say you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to kiss up or anything like that. But two things, you got to know the game, and you have to know the players.
That's right, yeah. You got to be willing, because I'm not saying it won't work for you eventually, but if you plant your feet and say it's going to be this way and no other way, it's not going to work in Nashville. I know that. I don't know about anywhere else, but
But that's a thing, and I think maybe it's a life lesson. You kind of got to get a little weight behind you before you can, like Dolly could say.
Once you get there. But man, though, I think marriage and pastoring a church and all that led me up to this point. I learned a whole lot about compromise, and you got to learn to compromise. Yeah.
That's weird. That's wild. All right, last question, I believe.
All right.
I don't even know if I should ask you this because I think everybody knows, like, social media contacts, how you TikToking.
I'm on all, I guess, I don't know how many platforms are out there. I'm on a bunch of them. I'm on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and X and Threads or whatever, which I think those two just cancel each other out really nowadays. I'm on all that stuff. I kind of tell people, my name's spelled weird, but if you just try, it'll usually pop up. Or if you go to toddtofficial.com, that's my website, you can find all of my socials from there. I'm on Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon and Deezer or whatever that is.
I've never been on Deezer.
I need me either. I just know I'm on there because I see it on all the reports and stuff.
Like I be really, when I see stuff like that, I be asking, who's on this?
What is even Deezer? Yeah, but I'm on there.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Listen, it's been, I really could ask you a million different things, but
we'll do another one sometime.
We'll do another one. I want to say thank you for being so gracious.
Yeah, thank you.
Like I said, we tried to, Schedules wasn't scheduling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it worked out. So
Scheduled
YouTube
today.
family, I want you to say just a huge thank you
Thank
to
you.
you for being a part of this.
Man, thank you for inviting me on. I'm glad it finally worked out. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for tuning in.
Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the world your hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, your power throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Yeah. Then sing my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how